It is it's also true in product design. Can you imagine someone in a company saying this consumer research stuff is for the birds. Let's design products. In other words, forget understanding the consumer buying habits and motives. Just design product. It would never work. A good engineer will understand the force, the stresses at work before designing the bridge. A good teacher will assess the class before teaching. A good student will understand before he applies. A good parent will understand before evaluating or judging. The key to good judgment is understanding. By judging first, a person will never fully understand. Seek first to understand is a correct principle evident in all areas of life. It's a general common denominator principles, but it has a greatest power in the area of interpersonal relationship. The area of interpersonal relations. Four autobiographical responses. Because we listen autobiographically, we tend to respond in one of four ways. We evaluate, we either agree or disagree, we probe, we ask questions from our own frame of reference, we advise, we give counsel based on our own experience, or we interpret, we try to figure people out to explain their motive, their behavior based on our own motive and behavior. These responses came naturally to us. We are deeply scripted in them. We live around models of them all the time. But how they do affect our ability to really understand. If I'm trying to communicate with my son, can he feel free to open himself up to me when I evaluate everything? He says before he really explain it, am I giving him psychological ear? And how does he feel when I probe? Probing is playing 20 question, is autobiographical, it's controls and it invades, it's also logical, and language of logic is different from the language of sentiment and emotion. You can play 20 questions all day and not find out what's important to someone. Constant probing is one of the main reasons parents do not get close to their children. How is it going, son? Fine. Having what's been happening lately? Nothing. So what's exciting at the school? Not much. And what your plans for the weekend? I don't know. You can get him off the phone talking with his friends, but all he give you is one and two words answer. Your house is a motel where he eats and sleep, but he never shares, never open up. And when you think about it honestly, why should he if every time he does open up his soft underbelly, you you elephant stomp it with autobiographical advice and I told you so. You are so deeply scripted in these responses that we don't even realize when we use them. I have taught this concept to thousands of people in seminar across the country and it never failed to shock them deeply as we role play em- empathic listening situation and they finally begin to listen to their own typical responses. But as they begin to see how they normally respond and learn how to listen with empathy, they can see the dramatic results in communication. To many, seek first to understand becomes the most exciting, the most immediately applicable of all the seven habits. Let's take a look at what well might be a typical communication between a father and his teenage son. To look at the father words in terms of the four different responses we have just described. Boy, dad, I've had it. School is for the birds. What's the matter, son? Probing. It's totally impractical. I don't get a thing out of it. Well, you just can't see the benefit yet, son. I felt the same way when I was your age. I remember thinking what I waste some of the classes were, but those classes turned out to be the most helpful to me later on. Just hang in there, give it some time, advising. I'm giving it 10 years of my life. Can you tell me what good x plus y is my going to be to me as an auto mechanic? An auto mechanic, you've got to be kidding, evaluating. No, I'm not. Look at Joey. He's quit school, he's working on cars, and he's making a lot of money. Now that's practical. I'm look that way now. But several years down the road, Joey going to wish he stayed in school. You don't want to be an auto mechanic. You need to you need an education to prepare for something better than that. Advising, I don't know, Joe's got a pretty good setup. Look, son, have you really tried probing, evaluating? I've been in high school 2 years now. Sure, I've tried it, just a waste. That's highly respected school. Son, give them a little credit. Advising, evaluating. Well, the others guys felt the same way I do. Do you realize how many sacrifices your mother and I have made to get you to where you are? You can't quite when you have come this far. Evaluating. I know your sacrifice that, but it's just not worth it. Look, maybe if you spend more time doing your homework and less time in front of TV, advertising, evaluating. Look, that is just no good. Oh, never mind. I don't want to talk about this anyway. Obviously, his father was well intended. Obviously, he wanted to help, but did he even begin to really understand? Let's look more carefully at the son, not just his words, but his thoughts and feeling expressed parenthetically below, and possibly effect of some of his that autobiographical responses. Boy, Dad, I've had it. School is for the birds. I want to talk with you to get your attention. What's the matter, son? You are interested. Good. It's totally practical. I don't get a thing out of it. I've got problem with the school and I feel just terrible. Well, you just can't see the benefit yet, son. I felt the same way when I was your age. Oh no. Care how many miles he had to trudge through the snow to school without any boots. I want to get to the problem. I remember thinking what a waste some of the classes were, but those classes turned out to be most helpful to me later on. Just hang in there, give it some time. Time won't solve my problem. I wish I could tell you. I wish I could just spit it out. I've given it 10 years of my life. Can you tell me what good X and plus Y is going to do me as an auto mechanic? An auto mechanic, you've got to be kidding. He wouldn't like me if I were an auto mechanic. He wouldn't like me if I don't finish school. I have to justify what I said. No, I'm not. Look at Joey. He's quite a school. He's working on cars and he's making a lot of money. Now that's practical. It may look what way now, but several years down the road, Joey going to wish he'd stayed in school. Oh boy, here comes lecture number 16 on the value of the education. You don't want to be an auto mechanic. How do you know that? Do you really have any idea what I want? You need an education to prepare for your something better than that. I don't know. Joey's got a pretty good setup. He's not a failure. He didn't finish school and he's not a failure. Look, son, have you really tried? We are beating around the bush that if you just Listen, I really need to talk you about something important. I've been in high school for 2 years. Sure, I tried. It's just a waste. That's a highly respected school, son. Give them a little credit. Oh, great. Now we are talking credibility. I wish I could talk about what I want to talk about. Well, the other guy felt the same way I do. I have some credibility too. I am not a moron. Do you realize how many sacrifices your mother and I've made to get you where you are? Oh, here comes the guilt trip. Maybe I am a moron. The school's great. Mom and dad are great, and I am moron. You can't quite when you have come this far. I know you have sacrificed that, but it's just not worth it. You just don't understand. Look, maybe if you spend more time doing your homework and less time in front of TV, that's not the problem. That's not it at all. I'll never be able to tell you I was dumb to try. Look, that it just no good. Oh, never mind. I don't want to talk about this way. Can you see how limited we are when we try to understand another person on the basis of words alone, especially when we are looking at that person through our own glasses? Can you see how limiting our autobiographical responses are to be a person who is genuinely trying to guide us to understand his autobiography? You will never be able to truly step inside another person to see the world as he see it until you develop the pure desire, the strength of personal character, the positive emotional bank account, as well as the empathic listening skills to do it. The skills, the tips of the iceberg of empathic listening involve four developmental stages. The first and the least effective is to mimic content. This is the skill taught in active or reflective listening without the character and relationship based. It is often insulting the pupil and causes them to close up. It is, however, a first stage skills because it is least cause you to listen to what's being said. Mimicking content is easy. You just listen to the words that come out of someone's mouth and you repeat them. You're hardly even using your brain at all. Boy, Dad, I had it. School is for the birds. You had it? You think school is for the birds? You have essentially repeat back the content of what was being said. You haven't evaluated or proved or advised or interpreted. You've at least showed you're paying attention to his words, but to understand you want to do more. The second stage of empathic listening is to rephrase the content. It's a little more effective, but it's still limited to the verbal communication. Boy, that I've had it. School is for the birds. You don't want to go to the school anymore. This time you put his meaning into your own words. Now you are thinking about what he said mostly with the left side, the reasoning, logical side of the brain. The third stage brings your right brain into operation. You reflect feelings. Boy, dad, I've had it. Son, is for the birds. School is for the bird. You are feeling really frustrated. Now you are not paying as much attention to what he's saying as you to the way he feels about what he's saying. The fourth stage includes both the second and the third. You rephrase the content and reflect the feeling. Boy, Dad, I've had it. The school is for the birds. You're really frustrated about the school. Frustration is the feeling, school is the content. You're using both side of your brain to understand both side of his communication. Now, what happened when you use fourth stage empathetic listening skills is really incredible. As you authentically seek to understand, as you rephrase content and reflect feeling, you give him psychological air. You also help him work through his own thoughts and feeling as he grows in his confidence of your sincere desire to really listen and understand the barrier between what's going on inside him and what's actually being communicated to you disappear. It opens soul to soul flow. He is not thinking and feeling one thing and communicating another. He is begin to trust you with his innermost tender feeling and thought. Boy, Dad, I've had it. School is for the birds. I want to talk with you to get your attention. You're really frustrated about the school. That's right, that's how I feel. I sure am. It's totally impractical. I'm not getting a thing out of it. You really like a school not doing you any good? Let me think. Is that what I mean? Well, yeah. I'm just not learning anything that's going to help me. I mean, look at Joey. He's dropped out of the school and he's working on cars. He's making money. Now that's practical. You feel that Joey really has the right idea? Well, I guess he does in a way. He's really making money now, but in a few years, I bet he'll probably be tick off at himself. You think Joe is going to feel he made a wrong decision? He's got to. Just look at what he's giving up. I mean, if you don't have an education, you just can't make it in this world. Education is really important. Oh, really? I mean, if you don't have a diploma, if you can't get jobs or go to the college, what are you going to do? You just got to get an education. It's important to your future. It is. And you know what? I'm really worried. Listen, you won't tell mom, will you? You don't want your mother to find out. Well, not really. Oh, I guess you can tell her. She'll probably find out anyway. Look, I took this test today, this reading test, and that they said I'm reading on a fourth grade level, fourth grade, and I am in a junior high school. What's a different real understanding can make? All the well meaning advice in the world won't amount to a hell of beans if we are not even addressing the real problem. And we'll never get to the problem if we are so caught up in our own autobiography, our own paradigms, that we don't take off glasses long enough to see the world from another point of view. I'm going to flunk that. I guess I figure I am going to flunk. I might as well quit, but I don't want to quit. You feel torn. You are in the middle of diploma. You are in the middle of dilemma. What do you think I should do that? By seeking first to understand this father has just turned a transactional opportunity into a transformational opportunity instead of interacting on the surface, get the job done level of communication. He has created a situation in which he can now have transforming impact not only on his son but also on the relationship by setting aside his own autobiography and really seeking to understand. He has made a tremendous deposit in the emotional bank account and has empowered his son to open layer upon layer and to get to the real issue. Now, father and son are on the same side of the table looking at the problem instead of an opposite sides looking across at each other. The son is opening his father autobiography and asking for advice. Even as the father begins to counsel, however, he needs to be sensitive to his son's communication as long as The response is logical. The father can effectively ask questions and give counsel, but the moment the response becomes emotional, he needs to go back to empathetic listening. Well, I can see some things you might want to consider, like what that, like getting some special help with your reading. Maybe they have some kind of tutoring program over at the tech, tech school. I've already checked into that. It takes 2 nights and all day Saturday. That would take so much time. Sensing emotion is that reply. The father moved back to empathy. That's too much of a price to pay. Beside that, I told the sixth grades that I've be their coach. You don't want to let them down, but I'll tell you this, that if I really thought that tutoring course would help, I'd be down there every night. I get someone else to coach those kids. You really want to help, but you doubt if the course will make a difference. Do you think it would that? The son is once more open and logical. He's opening his father autobiography again. Now the father has another opportunity to influence and transform. There are times when transformation requires no outside counsel, often when people are really given the chance to open up, they unravel their own problems and solution becomes clearer to them in the process. At other times, they really need additional perspective and help. The key is to genuinely seek the welfare of the individual, to listen with empathy, to let the person get to the problem and the solution at his own pace and time, layers upon layers. It's like peeling an onion until you get at the soft inner. When people are really hurting and you really listen with a pure desire to understand, you will be amazed how fast they will open up. They want to open up. Children desperately want to open up even more to their parents than to their peers, and they will, if they feel their parents will love them unconditionally and will be faithful to them afterwards and no judge or ridicule them. If you really seek to understand without hypocrisy and without guilt, there will be times when you will be literally stunned with the pure knowledge and understanding that will follow to you from another human being. It isn't even always necessary to talk in order to emphasize. In fact, sometimes words may just get in your way. That's one very important reason why technique alone will not work. That's kind of understanding transcend technique, isolate technique only gets in the way. I have gone through the skills of empathetic listening because skills is an important part of any habit. We need to have the skills, but let me iterate that the skills will not be effective unless they come from a sincere desire to understand people, resent any attempt to manipulate them. In fact, if you are dealing with people you are close to, it's helpful to tell them what you are doing. I read this book about listening and empathy. I thought about my relationship with you. I realize I haven't listened to you like I should, but I want to. It's hard for me. I may blow it at times, but I am going to work at it. I really care about you and I want to know, I want to understand. I hope you will help me. Affirming your motives is a huge deposit. But if you not sincere, I wouldn't even try it. It may create an openness and a vulnerability that will later turn to your harm when a person discovered that you really didn't care, you really didn't want to listen, and he left open. exposed and heard the technique, the tip of the iceberg has to come out of the massive base of character underneath.